We are here in the KCIW radio station on the Quality Living with Peaceful Support program. And we thank our listeners, sponsors, participants of all levels, whether they are donating their time and energy or they're donating financial sponsorships. All of this keeps the radio on. This is a completely volunteer-ran program, and we are super thankful for all of your participation, and especially for listening, because if we didn't have anybody listening, we wouldn't get very far. So thank you for tuning in and turning up the radio and really hearing what we have to say. And you're always welcome to call in. We have the phone number 541-661-4098. And if you don't want to call and you just want to give an email, please do. contact@kciw.org. Okay, here on the Quality Living with Peaceful Support program, we get into exactly that being quality living. Where does it come from? How do we get more of it? We bring in various types of humans. We've had a couple of animals on the show. It's a lot of fun, and all walks of life. And today we are super, super grateful to have Barry Kimbrough. Barry Kimbrough is the pastor of the Seventh Day Adventist Church here in Brookings and Gold Beach and Cave Junction. Yes, all three of these Seventh Day Adventist churches. Thank you, Barry, for being here in the station with us.
Thank you for inviting me.
Absolutely. It's such a super special gift. We're very appreciative.
Glad to be here with you.
Oh, how did you get here to Brookings?
Well, pastors get around. So I'm originally from the West Coast, grew up in Southern California, but my pastoral ministry started in Idaho. I worked there for a number of years, went back down to Southern California where I had grown up, had a few years of ministry there, and then got an invitation to the East Coast, spent almost 15 years in Massachusetts, then 4 years in West Virginia. And then about 2018, we were informed that there was some vacancies out here in Oregon, and my wife had some family here in Oregon, and we had been looking for a milder climate for some family needs. And so fortunately, the door of opportunity opened to come here to Brookings. We had an interview with a church, or I should say churches, because I do more than one church, as you mentioned. And we moved here in 2018 and have been here since then.
Wow.
We love living here. It's just gorgeous living here on the Southern Oregon coast.
Nice, nice. And your family's totally content with all the moving around and being here. And it's been a while since you've gone somewhere. Are you going to stay?
I would like to have a longer stay. You know, you kind of have to be careful how you plan your life, though. You never know what the future might hold. But yes, we have enjoyed it here. In fact, we live on top of a mountain on several acres and 4 minutes down the road to the beach.
Oh.
And it's up in Gold Beach where we live.
Fancy. So then being in Gold Beach, Brookings, and Cave Junction, how does that happen?
Fortunately, the churches have leaders that can run the church services when I'm not there, including doing sermons, elders who do sermons. And so because we've got good leaders in all three of the churches, they run like a well-oiled machine. And I get around to on a rotation basis and cover all the churches, sometimes doing more than one in one day, but not always.
Okay.
And with all of everybody's help, it makes it doable.
That is quite a variety of locations.
It gives the local church members more leadership.
Right, and a different variety of humans giving a different sound, a voice, a way of presenting, and something that they can have new energy to.
That's true. Yeah, there's a variety of speakers, variety of leaders. We have, the towns are different. Gold Beach, smaller. Brookings being the biggest town. And Cave Junction actually was added only within the last year. So I've gotten acquainted with the town of Cave Junction now for the last many months.
Nice.
And I've had a great time.
Yeah,
So
I could imagine.
it adds variety. That's true.
And so with the being a pastor, have you always been a pastor with your ministryship?
It is the only full-time career that I've ever had. That's true. I studied in college to be a pastor. I did work at a few other jobs, part-time as a student, such as that. But yes, since 1988,
Wow.
full-time at it. So I really had no question from about the age of 14 what I wanted to do with my life. At that time, I reached a point where I had seen some real brokenness in life. And I really wanted to find answers. How do you live at peace with yourself? How do you live at peace with others? How do you live at peace with God so that you can have a peaceful and happy life? I was very, very keen to find out right about the age of 14. I don't remember before that, being on such a quest. But at that age, it became a real intense interest, just almost an obsession, I would say.
Right.
And it was at that age that God became very real to me, where I felt that I had the answer to my questions. And also my career choice started at that point. Before that, I think I thought more about making a lot of money
Okay.
and trying to, just enjoy a lot of material things in life. I'm not against material things. You got to have them, but you don't want them to have you. You don't want them to rule you. So I was really at that time at the age of 14, I started to read the Bible for the first time on my own, for my own interest, not just for like a class at school,
Right.
or for church or something. And I will say that I had a wonderful experience that pointed me in the direction that I'm in now.
Phenomenal. And so with this quest for how do you live in peace when there's all this chaos or this hardships or these things that are just knock us down, what was your answer?
Well, that's a good question. And I would say that part of it was coming to an understanding of, why is there chaos in the world? A lot of us just don't really know why that is. We see that it's bad.
Okay, I'll introduce her.
Oh. Yes. So I learned that, as the Bible says, that, God created a perfect world, and Adam and Eve were in harmony with God, and everything was perfect. They chose to go a wrong direction with some, God had given them a little test, which they made a choice to go against that, and it plunged the world into what we would call sin or evil that we understand. And yet, fortunately, the rest of the Bible story is about how God wants to set it right again. And he does have a better world, his beautiful world of tomorrow. And so the fact that it's gone wrong is not the end of the story.
Right. So you found it within his words through the Bible. That's beautiful. It sounds like we have a caller calling into the station here. We want to hear more about this. Is our caller on?
Yes, hello.
Hello there. You're on the KCIW radio station with Quality Living and Peaceful Support, and we have Barry Kimbrough, the pastor of Seventh Day Adventist Church, in the station. Did you have a question?
I do have a question.
Tell us who you are.
Well, you know me as being part of the radio station, Bobby Goldman.
Hi, Bobby.
Hi. And so I was asking about the pastor because I have been to the Seventh Day Adventist churches and I love them. Absolutely. I do love them. And I respect them and they're amazing. But my only one question is regarding that. Why don't they ever talk about the New Testament? And I don't know who to ask that question to, except for a pastor.
Okay, well, thank you for your question. I appreciate that. And yes, we believe in the Old Testament and the New Testament. We don't only hold to one or the other. And I'm sorry that you got the impression that we don't believe in the New Testament, because without the New Testament, we would not have the gospel. We wouldn't have the resurrection of Jesus. We wouldn't have the hope of eternal life as it is presented so beautifully in the New Testament. A lot of my sermons are from the New Testament, and so I think probably one of the reasons why, though, that some people might think that we do have a very high regard for the Old Testament is because we believe in the book of Genesis, and that was the book of beginnings, and God gave two beautiful gifts to humanity in the book of Genesis. He gave the gift of marriage. Adam and Eve was the first wedding that was performed, and he gave the Sabbath as a gift. And we cherish the Sabbath as a gift. And it is presented there in the Old Testament, but of course, it's mentioned many times in the New Testament as well. Jesus Christ did many wonderful miracles of healing on the Sabbath, and he had some conflict with the Pharisees of his day because they had set up all kinds of man-made rules about how the Sabbath should be kept and had turned it really into a burden rather than a blessing. And so he came to show the true meaning of the Sabbath, that's to be a blessing for all people, of rest and refreshment once a week. And so, no, we do believe in the New Testament, very much so. And we believe the Old Testament and the New Testament fit together beautifully. Yeah.
Absolutely. And I totally agree with that. And so when I have been to your Seventh Day Adventist church, the one in Rockland, which I've prayed for 4 years to come alight to the Seventh Day Adventist, guess what happened? I was in the apartment, and right across the street, guess what? A vacant lot. And guess what happened? A Seventh Day Adventist church was born. And Pastor Gray, I think Pastor Gray led it. And I was so happy. Oh my gosh. And I went to that church and I washed the feet according to what that day was, of the women being with the women and the men being with men, washing their feet and whatnot. And it was amazing. And so then I moved to Brookings, Oregon, and I found out that the Greg Goodchild, who is, I think, a pastor, or I don't know what you call them, youth pastor over at the church on Norwood for the Seventh Day Adventist church there. And he comes up to Brookings, Oregon. And I was like, oh, are you familiar with Pastor Greg Goodchild?
You're asking me that question?
Yes.
Okay. I have not met him. One of the nice things about our church is that it's big enough that you can't know everybody.
Okay.
And so I've never heard his name, and I've never met him, but I'm glad that you had a positive experience at the church there with him as the pastor. And so I'd like to meet him someday, but haven't had the privilege of meeting him yet.
Okay. Have you ever met the pastor over in Rockland from that church?
Yeah.
Pastor Gray?
Nope. There's another one. I don't know. You see, I've been here in Brookings for about 6 years, and we have our churches organized by region. So when I attend a meeting with all the pastors, I only meet those that are from Western Oregon. We call it the Oregon Conference. And those that live in Northern California, they have their own meetings. And we don't have national meetings hardly ever where we would all come together. And even if we did, there would be so many that, you wouldn't be able to meet everybody.
That sounds like a possible opportunity in the near future.
Someday we...
That's what I was thinking. Okay.
Yep.
So I just wanted to, because when I went to the church on Norwood, which Norwood in California, off the exit of Norwood, and I went to that church, and I was there for a while, and all they talked about was the Old Testament. I'm like, why don't you guys ever preach on the New Testament and about Jesus and why? And so,
Well, we
I
thank
guess,
Pastor Barry for bringing that to the light and seeing the connection and that they do utilize all parts. And we thank you for your call today.
okay.
And we will talk to you in the near future. You can contact Barry directly. Can you go ahead and tell her how she could email you or?
Sure. You can send me an email at barrykimbrough7@gmail.com. That's lowercase BarryKimbrough, then the number 7 at gmail.com. And anyone who's listening is welcome to send me a question on email if you'd like to send one.
And are you in Brookings, Oregon?
I am. I serve the
Okay.
Brookings Church. I also serve the Gold Beach Church and the Cave Junction churches.
Wonderful. Thank you so much, Barry.
All right.
It
Thank
was
you,
great
Bobby.
to meet you today.
Have a good day.
Okay. Thank you. Good night.
Good night. All right. So we are on the Quality Living with Peaceful Support show, and that was a call in. Everyone's welcome to do that anytime they want. 541-661-4098. And we're going to continue our talk here with Barry Kimbrough of the Seventh Day Adventist Church. And we have a normal question that we ask everybody on the show, because we are on Quality Living with Peaceful Support. We ask them, what exactly does quality living, or what is, let's start with one question at a time. Let's go even further. What does living, what is your favorite part of living?
My favorite part of living is giving.
Oh, nice. Yeah.
I enjoy receiving and giving.
Nice.
And I think that the best way to happiness is to make others happy.
Oh, yeah.
So when we give, another one of my favorite little quotes is, what we give forever is our own.
Mm-hmm.
In the sense that we give, I mean, maybe we give something up in that sense, but we cherish the memory of being able to enrich the life of another person.
Oh, yeah.
So.
Yeah, that's very true. That's very true. Okay, and then our other question we have is, what does quality living represent to you?
For me, quality living is enjoying God's blessings and sharing them with others. Mm-hmm. So we need to have enough for our own needs. Mm-hmm. You know, God has every blessing that He wants to give to us, whether it's something physical, tangible, material, whether it's something more spiritual, emotional, relational, whatever kind of gift it is, we can be a blessing to others with the gifts of God.
Oh, yeah. We love that part. And it seems to flow like unconditionally and without effort when it's in that form. You don't even know how you even obtained what you obtained to give. But, you know, when you're doing things for other reasons and you're trying so hard and you just can't seem to get it all together, and you realize you let go, you let God, and the abundance flows.
The wonderful truth is that God is able to fill up our needs. We find our need for love is filled with the love of Jesus Christ, and our opportunity and need to serve is in the process of blessing other people with those blessings.
Definitely.
Yeah.
Definitely. And your path or your mission goes very well with peaceful support. And so how do you get more of that, or how do you present that to your community? What are some ways of providing peaceful support?
It's important to understand what the needs of people are. We have done food ministries in our churches, and we've had it in the past, and we still do it. In Brookings, we have a free luncheon every Saturday after our church service. Not every Saturday, the second and the fourth Saturdays of the month. We do a free luncheon. Everybody's invited to come. It is at 12:45 p.m. that we serve that lunch.
And will you tell our listeners where your church is?
102 Park Avenue. It is next to the Village Rehab Center. And just in that section, you can actually see the church from the main street. If you're standing by the cinema, you can look up and see the church right up there. There's a stained glass in the window, and the services are on Saturdays. We have Bible study at 10 o'clock and worship service at 11:15. And anybody is welcome to join us anytime for our services. We're happy to have visitors, and we look forward to having folks come.
Nice. Thank you so much. It's such a gift. It's a gift, really, to the community. And we hear that it's mostly vegetarian or all vegetarian.
Yes, the luncheons are all vegetarian.
Very
That's
nice.
right. Yeah, that's a tradition that we have. It's another thing that we take from the book of Genesis, because originally there was, there was no death, there was no killing originally. And so we like that. Now, we do not make it a rule for church members to be a vegetarian. It's something that we encourage and we promote it, but we don't make that a requirement. Yeah.
Everybody is accepted.
Everybody's on a, we're not all made the same way, and there's differences among us. Variety is the spice of life. So
Very well said.
Yeah.
Sweet. Nice. So with all these services and your rotation in the different communities, is there anything that you see, even though you see the differences, is there a common union that you see within the 3 locations?
There's certain ways that all people are the same. Everybody responds to kindness. Everybody has certain basic human needs for peace, for answers in life, for their physical needs to be met, whether that's food, clothing, or in some cases, information that's helpful. So, yeah, each community is a little bit different in a way, and yet also the same in certain ways. I've worked in communities where it seemed like most people had never, ever been outside of that community.
Wow.
I've worked in other places where you just have people from all over the world, living there. I pastored a church that had a university within walking distance from the church.
Oh,
So
nice.
we had students from all over the world,
Right.
and they were coming to the church, and that was a great thing. Gold Beach used to be a town where they had a lot of the lumber industry going on. And but I've come along since that's long since really kind of in the past. So we don't have as many people up there as we used to, but we're glad for the ones that we have.
That's true.
And Brookings, we have a lot of people who are senior age, retirement age, and younger age as well. Glad to have every age group in the church. We're thankful we're getting more and more young people. Kids. We started a church school, an elementary school, this last fall in our Brookings church.
Nice.
So if anybody's looking for an alternative for education for their children, we'd be happy to talk to you about that.
Oh, fancy. And had they email you?
Send me an email.
Okay.
Yep. And now Cape Junction is something new for me, so I've gotten acquainted with the church down there, and that is not like right on the coast. Like these other
Right.
2 churches are. So, but I've had an opportunity to get to know folks there and have really enjoyed getting to know some new people who, live in a different part of our southwestern Oregon area here.
Nice. For people in university or in school or thinking about a career or wondering where their path may take them, would you encourage them? Because it's not too commonly heard throughout, as a kid of myself who's gone through junior college or trade school or university, hasn't been in the circle of being a career or an option.
You're talking about like working for the church?
Would you recommend somebody going to college to find this path, or do you feel that they need to be called to it, or how would you direct somebody who's looking for?
I think everybody should seek God's answer to that question. Our calling in life, to a large degree, is determined by the capabilities that God has given us. Some people could make an outstanding physician, for example, because of the talents and interests that they have. Others would make wonderful early elementary school teachers. And they might not be a great university professor,
Right.
but they work really well with kids. Or the opposite. Some are just called to the higher levels of education. As for other things like ministry, you need to ask God, what, Lord, is your calling for my life? What do you want me to do? And the way you find that out really is by doing the best you can with whatever you're doing right now.
That is so true.
There's an old saying that, God does not steer a parked car.
Amen to that.
You need to be active doing something.
Exactly.
And you'll find out if that's working out for you or not. And, God will guide you along the way.
Thank you, Pastor Barry. That is so true. 100%. Absolutely. Is there anything you wanted to say to the listeners before we close up here?
I would just like to say that I believe that there is a wonder and a blessing in knowing God and in seeking Him and having Him in your life, surrendering your life to Him. You'll experience the greatest amount of freedom that you've ever felt in your life if you will submit to Him and let Him work in your life. The Bible tells us that God is love, and He loves all of us. And as we learn to trust Him and seek Him in His Word and experience the wonder of spiritual realities through Christ, we can enjoy the greatest blessings that He wants to bring to us.
Thank you so much for being here on KCIW Quality Living Show.
Thank you. It's been great to be with you.
Awesome.